Now stay with me for this.
Why are World Cups better when Ireland is there?
Because we're everywhere. Like, imagine the party in Boston if Ireland men get to the World Cup in the USA this year. I was a fence sitter for sure. I didn't want to be in any trouble.
Okay, that doesn't really sound like your reputation, I would say. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Friendlies. I'm your host, Sam Mewis, and today we have one of the most passionate defenders in the Women's Super League and in the global game. She's been a huge part of Arsenal's rise to Champions League glory. She's a star of the international game, but really a hero at home in the gorgeous and proud nation of Ireland. If you don't already know, I bet you do now. It's long-serving Ireland captain, Katie McCabe. Katie, thank you so much for being here.
That was quite the intro, Sam. Appreciate that.
Well, you deserve it. I'm so excited to chat. You've been on our list ever since we started the women's game. And I feel like it's been a long time coming because I kind of cornered you at my sister's wedding and was like, do you want to come on the show?
I feel like we had a conversation and I was like, Sam, I want to come on the show. Let's do it. And then we were like a couple of Aperol spritz in and we were like, okay, we can get that done.
It's booked. It's booked. And now here we are. This episode of Friendlies is brought to you by Verizon, a proud supporter of the global game and the players who inspire us on and off the pitch. As an official sponsor of the FIFA World Cup 2026, Verizon is honored to help share the stories of the world's top players, including the incredible women who are changing the game at every level. Stay tuned for more on how Verizon can get you connected to the game we love. All right, everybody. Here is Katie McCabe. Obviously, you're so busy. Every time I've been trying to book this with you, I look at your game schedule and I'm like, I don't know. We're not going to be able to do this until June, but we have found you on a rare off day. I know you're battling it out to return to the Champions League final, hopefully with Arsenal, and you're preparing to lead the Irish women's team into World Cup qualifying matches. I think I want to hear a little bit off the field before we get into all of that. Did Christy just tell me that you're building or renovating a house?
Yeah, we actually had Christy and Sam over on, I think it was Monday or Tuesday. They came to see the house for the first time. So yeah, that's been a bit of a project going on in the background the last year and a half. So all the visits have been over to Christy and Sam's to see little Jagger, of course. But they were able to get a little day off, baby free to come visit and see the house. So it was really, really good to catch up because we've not had a proper catch up since the wedding, to be honest.
I know you guys are all so busy with so many games. I think I want to know what are the best and worst parts of creating your own. How did you build it from scratch or renovate it?
I bought land and then I worked together with my amazing interior designer and the builder. We construct and they were able to, just kind of capture everything I wanted. It's all done. We moved in September. So yeah, really, really happy with it because I've been moving here to there to the next place probably the last 10 years in St. Albans. So it's nice to have some roots in the ground now.
Oh my gosh, that is so amazing. What's something that you imagined getting to be a part of it that came true and that you love so much? What's a cool feature?
The sauna. It has to be the sauna.
So nice.
I know. Especially with the cold weather here and the rain all the time. So after a training day to come home, pop the sauna on and get in and you just hear the rain fall outdoors and you're in 90 degree heat is really nice. Yeah, a big part of my recovery as well, being able to be fit and available for all the games we have coming up and just try maximise as much as I can. So a big shout out to the Irish sauna company that I got in touch with to kind of put everything together, and the lads they drove the sauna over from Ireland.
No
so
way.
It is Ireland made. Yeah, the lads were incredible. So that is probably the best feature, my favorite feature.
Oh my gosh, that sounds awesome and so perfect for London. I was just recently visiting and it was a little rainy, a little chilly, nothing really like what we're experiencing here in the Northeast in the States, but a sauna is just so cozy when you get home from a wet, chilly training session. So that sounds incredible. I want to backtrack a little bit. Before you were, building your very own house with your very own sauna, you were growing up in Tallaght. How did I do with that?
Tallaght, yeah. Good pronunciation.
Okay.
Yeah, you did well.
I did okay. I had a little cheat code here from one of our Irish producers. Tallaght is a suburb of Dublin, and you have 10 siblings. There are 11 McCabe children.
Yes.
Literally, you could have your own soccer team. And everybody's pretty sporty. I know your brother played pro. Your younger sister plays in the Irish League as well. What's the age range between you and all your siblings?
So there's like a 21-year gap between the oldest and the youngest.
Oh my God.
So my older sister will hate me telling the world this, but she's turning 40 in May. And then my youngest sister, she's 18, turning 19 this year as well. So yeah, that's the gap. That's it. Wow. It's a lot of years.
That's crazy. Where do you fall?
I'm fifth. I had to think about that. But yeah, I'm fifth. So I've got 4 older siblings, and then the rest are all younger than me. So I'm not quite in the middle. My younger brother Shane, he's smack bang middle child. But yeah, we're all pretty close, to be fair.
That is like so amazing. I'm curious, like, you know how there's like stereotypes for the eldest, the youngest, the middle child. Like, what do you think you are? Like, what characteristics do you have?
It's weird because growing up, my mom and dad kind of not like didn't parent us, but I think we just kind of all looked after each other. Like the closest you are in the siblings, like you've probably got the closest relationship to. Yeah, it's so different. You've got the louder ones, the quiet ones, the ones that sit on the fence. So you've got the whole range through everybody. I was a fence sitter for sure. I didn't want to be in any trouble.
Okay, that doesn't really sound like your reputation, I would say. I'm curious how having so many siblings, like, did you all play sports together? How do you think being active together and you know, having so many people around all the time, how do you think that shaped you?
I think growing up, we were all like very competitive. So whatever was going on, we'd always be competing, whether it was a board game or playing football around the pitches. We were all so competitive, and all my siblings like played sports through school. Like my brother obviously played then pro, and yeah, he was a big role model of mine growing up, and probably the main reason I got into football, him and my dad. I think a big part of who I am, especially on the pitches, is down to coming from a big family and having that confidence around you as well. I think that really kind of portrays how I play.
Speaking of how you are on the pitch, I feel like you are just one of like the toughest players in the women's game. And we did some research for this. We heard that your older brother has made this joke that all his friends were afraid to play against you because you were so tough as a kid. And now that you are kind of known as this like really passionate, really tough player, when do you have like an origin story of like when you kind of felt like, oh yeah, I can have this persona and I can just like, maybe I'm like a little bit fearless?
Back in Ireland, there wasn't the luxury of having so many girls teams there is nowadays, you know. So for the majority of my younger years, like in underage football, it was all playing with boys. So the team I kind of went into, you had to prove yourself. No one wanted to pass it to the girl on the team, or you kind of got looked at to be like, oh God, we've got a girl. So there was always kind of that point to prove. So you always had to kind of work that little bit harder to earn that respect from the other lads in your team. And yeah, I feel like that's kind of been ingrained in me ever since, you know.
Yeah, we asked this question a lot of players, that just how their childhood is often shaped like that. Is like if you grow up playing with boys, you know, you're challenged in different ways, but you kind of start to adopt this mentality of like, I have a little bit more to prove. And I think it's like led so many players similar to you to have success. I remember talking specifically to like Jill Scott about this. And I just think it was different for me. I did grow up playing more with girls, and I was always kind of trying to catch up to my sister. But I feel like what's cool to think about is how much more opportunity there is now for young girls in Ireland, in England, and how you all are kind of like paving the way for them to have different opportunities as kids. I know that you started playing in Ireland's top league as a teenager, and then you were great. You immediately played in Champions League with Shelbourne FC. You started attracting attention of some of Europe's biggest clubs, and we're going to get into kind of the state of Irish women's soccer today. But at that time when you were just getting started, do you remember there being a moment when you realized you were going to have to leave Ireland in order to get to the level you wanted to get to?
Yeah, I think that kind of started, like you mentioned, like me playing for Raheny and then Shelburne. I was like 15, 16, going into a senior dressing room, and you're all of a sudden playing with like 25-year-old, 30-year-old women, and you've got to earn that respect. So it was like similar to what I experienced with the boys team. I had to go and do that again, and I kind of had those tools in the locker. So I kind of had that resilience from very early on. As I kind of grew into that role with Raheny, and then Raheny then turned into Shelburne.
Okay.
The Irish international stage started to open up. So I was on the underage teams, 17s, 19s with Ireland, and it was so funny. I remember we were playing a game with the underage team, and the senior Ireland team came to watch. And I was thinking, okay, I need to try put on a show here today. And I I was like, the manager's watching, so I like tried to play out on my skin. Because I was like, I really want to make an impression. I really want to get into that team, because the team had like Emma Byrne, Niamh Fahey, all these unbelievable Irish players, legends that were playing over in England at the time. And for me, that was my dream, to get over across the water and experience English football with a top club. And if I even had a chance at that, I needed to get into that senior team, and that's where I kind of zoned in on like my training, and yeah, just being so determined to kind of catch the manager's eye, really, which thankfully I did.
Well, I was going to say that opportunity that you remember, did you play really well that day?
I did play well that day. I scored and got a couple of assists. And to be fair, with Ireland, like the manager at the time, she was always like coming around Ireland, watching the games. Was a real big fan of the league, and really wanted it to do well. So the help of the girls at Raheny, teaching me to be like disciplined and understanding your roles quite young, because I think young players, you tend to just kind of look after yourself, but I think the sooner the better you realise like team roles and responsibilities, that can actually excel your game even further. So from the players in my club team, teaching me the ropes and showing me what that means, it kind of portrayed then into the Irish senior setup. And it was after we had the under-19s Euros, and that following summer, I think it was the September, I got my first call up to the senior team. And it was it was really nerve-wracking.
Oh my gosh. I bet my first call up was terrifying. Something I'm picking up on that you said was this idea, you had these role models who were playing with the Irish national team, but they were playing their club football over in England. And I think, you said one of my goals was to get over across the water. I think what I'm interested in is like this idea of kind of having to, like, maybe in Ireland you became like a big fish in a small pond, but going to England was really putting yourself in this new challenging environment. And you did get noticed by one of, the most legendary clubs, Arsenal, in 2015. It just meant you'd have to leave your family, move to London. You moved into a shared house with other players. What was that like, to leave home to kind of maybe do the reverse and become like a small fish in a big pond? What do you remember feeling?
I remember thinking, I need to be really fit going over here, because these girls are just going to be like so fit. So I remember in my off season, I was just like running every day, because I was like, I just don't want to fail that first fitness test. At the start, it was like just pure excitement. I was so excited to be there, so excited to make an impression. Sit in the changing room with these legends of the game. But then I think over time, you start to miss home. You start to miss the home comforts of like coming in and seeing your siblings and mom and dad, and you have to do your own washing, make your own food. Like, you have to fend for yourself, really. And that was something that was really, really new to me. So yeah, the start was tough in a new country, new environment, and then really, really high standards. But looking at what I've achieved now, it was so worth getting out of the comfort zone. I tried to just trust the process, listen to the coaches and players that I knew understood what it took to achieve. And I remember Rachel Yankee, actually, at the time, she was really, really helpful. Similar position. I came over as a left winger, and she was left wing for Arsenal as well. You're just trying to eat up all the information you can at such a young age. And for me, having Emma Byrne there as well, being Irish, and she really took me under her wing and it helps when the most senior player in the dressing room is a friend of yours as well, you know. So that really helped me kind of settle the nerves and focus on what I had to do.
I mean, what a journey. I know that you went on loan for a stint with the Scottish club. And I feel like, you know, you're a young player playing at Arsenal. There's all these other amazing players around. What did going on loan do for you at the time? I know you went away and you had all this success. Talk to us a little bit about, you know, the decision to ask for that loan and then what that experience was like. Did it help you gain confidence? Just kind of take us into your head at that time.
When I went over, I signed a 2-year deal. And it was after the first year, I was like struggling with not a lot of game time, but obviously knew who was in front of me. So it was really hard to compete with that little kid from Ireland trying to get some minutes in a massive Arsenal team. It was really difficult. So then for me, I had a conversation with the club in the January because we were in the summer season still. And I looked to go on loan in the January, and they kind of said, look, no, we're going to like obviously build in like some minutes in the next 6 months. And that kind of didn't happen, which it happens in football. You're never guaranteed minutes, you know. So then when it came to that summer, I had 6 months left of my deal, and I just felt like I need to get out and I need to get playing. During that time in the August, I'd recently been made captain of the Ireland team. And for me and my own standards, like I couldn't be a captain of my national team and be sitting on the bench, not getting minutes. So Glasgow was really important for me. I just needed to get out of the league, have a fresh start somewhere, and just get confidence back, really. My confidence was really low at that time, and I wasn't in the fittest I've ever been. So I needed to just get out, get playing, and thankfully Glasgow were able to accommodate that, and I got my confidence back, which was really nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a great story, I feel, for anybody struggling where they are, to know that if you have this opportunity to kind of, you know, whether it is go out on loan or step away for a minute, but just this, it's an inspirational story of like rebuilding, because then you come back to Arsenal in 2017, you're playing some of the most minutes on the squad, you're scoring crucial goals, you extended your contract twice, you became the first Irish woman to be nominated for the Ballon d'Or. And this period of all this success and you just like really building yourself up, building Arsenal up, about 2018 to 2022, this was when Arsenal's fan base, the one that we know now that's like selling out the Emirates, like what feels like every week, was really growing. And you are such a key part of that. And I just love the thought that you built all of that after you kind of had this low and this stint that was difficult and you had to go out and find something new. What did it feel like to have joined this club, Arsenal, with so much history, but during this good period to be building something so strong with them? What does that mean to you?
It's everything, really. Like, I think as a kid, like watching the one game a year, which would be an FA Cup final, and seeing Irish greats representing Arsenal, and I just kind of looked at that and I was like, I want to do that one day. I want to be able to play for Arsenal, be an Irish player like Eamon, like Niamh, Yvonne Tracy, Ciara Grant, be like those players. And for me, like going to Glasgow, I think I tried to just concentrate on what was best for me rather than listening to external noise, like whether people thought it was a step down or I was just redirecting what I wanted to do. And I think going back then down to Arsenal, there was a change of coach. Joe Montemurro came in, who's a unbelievable coach, an unbelievable person. He backed me, and they looked to extend my deal from that point onwards. And for me, the only way I could be thank him for that was to work hard and put it into my performances and put it into the club. And I think from that point on, I never took a moment for granted in an Arsenal shirt. You're going out and training with world-class players every day, so it's only going to better you as a player. What you can learn from them and pick up from. And yeah, I just, for me, I think it was just making sure I was at it every single day, and keeping my standards so high. And I think ultimately that's how I've gotten to where I am now, by being disciplined with that.
You sound like somebody anybody would be lucky to be teammates with, like always taking every opportunity and performing the best that you can, never taking anything for granted. And you really like earned what would be the crowning achievement at Arsenal. Last year, you fought off some of Europe's greatest teams to play in the Champions League final. The club hadn't won this tournament in a generation. You won the game, massive for the club, massive for you. You played every game of the campaign. You set a new record for minutes played by any woman in Champions League history. You had played in Champions League all throughout your career. How did it feel to lift the trophy with Arsenal in this moment?
Everything I dreamt of. Like, I think from the moment you start kicking a ball and you see growing up, for me, it was watching like men's teams, because obviously women's teams weren't on the TV. So it was like, wouldn't that be cool? So actually, when I was younger, I was being like, oh, it'd be cool to lift the men's Champions League trophy. And then here you are about to lift the women's one after all those years, you know. But for me, it was interesting, like, because one of the first days I walked into the football club when I was visiting, there's a picture of 3 Irish players with a tricolour draped over them, and they're holding that UEFA Cup when they won it 18, 19 years ago now. And I was just thinking that would be amazing to do that one day with this club, with an Irish flag draped around me. And of course, it's amazing personal achievement being part of such an amazing team and an amazing club. But for me, the bigger impact of that is making sure girls back home in Ireland have a role model to see that they can do that one day as well, if they're incredibly hardworking and put their mind to it. And it's just given, like, my nieces all now play football, and they've got girls clubs at where I grew up, whereas we never had any of that growing up. So even that in itself is a step in the right direction. And for me, it's just being able to inspire those next generation of young kids coming up and raising the profile of Irish women's footballers, because it's it's a massive thing. Ireland has so many amazing athletes, and I want us to keep pushing and keep representing at the highest level.
It's so cool to hear you talk about your Champions League win, which is a club competition. And the thing that meant so much to you is really being from Ireland and representing an Irish player for that club. I think that's something that feels unique and rare, but it makes sense considering the Irish role models that you had playing for Arsenal when you were kind of coming up. I do want to pivot, which is something we've already talked about a bunch, but I want to focus on your journey with the Ireland national team. You made your debut in 2015. Since 2017, you've been the captain. You've worked really hard to raise the profile of the team, to secure equal pay. And in 2023, you did something no other captain had done before. You led your team to their first World Cup. This was so cool to witness. Like, I remember the minute you guys qualified, it was such an incredible moment. And I've talked to Denise O'Sullivan, your Ireland teammate, about it. Can you just talk to us about this specific accomplishment and why it meant so much to you?
It was crazy, because I think for me and Denise, we've played with each other since we're like 13, 14, and what a player she is, by the way. I'm so happy she's in the WSL now, so people can see more of her. The day we qualified, it was such a tough journey to get there, and I think we had the heartbreak of the Euros 2 years previous to that, and I just remember how bad we all felt off the back of that. And I was just determined to make sure we were in a better headspace, and obviously dissect the disappointment of not qualifying for the Euros, but also remembering that feeling and carrying that throughout the whole World Cup qualification campaign. And we had Vera Pau as our manager, who's got a lot of international experience, and she was great at getting the best out of the team. We got drawn against Scotland away from home in Glasgow, and I just remember looking around the dressing room as well. You know, you get that feeling, you know what it's like. You get that feeling where you think, right, everyone is ready, everyone's locked in.
Yeah. And
you just know it's going to be your night. And I remember sitting in the changing room that evening thinking, I just looked around and I thought everyone is so locked in, so ready to go. They know the roles, they know what it's going to take. And it was actually, for me, it was the first, I think it was like the first 20 minutes into the game, we conceded a penalty. And now stay with me for this. We were on the coach on the way to the game, and I sit at the very, very back in the middle, so I can see right up the aisle. And I remember looking to my left. I joked about this with Courtney Brosnan, our goalkeeper, before. I wasn't eavesdropping on what she was doing on her phone, but I looked, and she was looking at the penalties so it would have been Erin Cuthbert, Caroline Weir that takes the penalties for Scotland. And I was like, right, she is she's ready. Like, she's doing her prep on the way to the game, even more prep.
Yeah.
And then 20 minutes, 25 minutes into the game, we get a pen and I see Caroline Weir take the ball. And I thought, we've got this. Courtney has got this. And I remember standing there and Caroline took the pen and Court knew exactly where she was going, saved it. And I knew it was going to be our night from that moment onwards, because I was like, yeah, there's no going away from this. And obviously we got the goal in the end to get us through.
That's like such an incredible story. I loved hearing that. I'm so glad you told it. And like sometimes it really is just like fate. Like you're just like, no, it's our turn. I think another like very fateful moment was you scored the first goal, an Olimpico from a corner kick. How did you feel? How did your teammates react? How did your family react to that? Like, what are your memories of scoring that goal?
It was crazy because we obviously had the opener against Australia in Sydney. So that was the first game. Obviously all the Irish expats are out there and it felt like we were walking out in Ireland. There was so many Irish fans in that stadium that night and it was like a sellout. And then that actually carried over. Our second game was in Perth against Canada. And again, there was so many Irish there. And I remember walking over to take the corner and I'm hearing all these Irish accents in the crowd being like, go on, Katie, go on. Like pure Irish accents. And I was like, feels like Dublin here. Like if we've got home game or something. That's what I felt like. We've got such like aerial threat. We had Louise Quinney, Fahy. So we were aiming towards the back post. And that was an area we looked to target. And it was just raining, wind. So I put it in the right area.
Yeah, I'll say.
The Canada goalkeeper stepped forward. And then by that point, she wasn't going to get it. So yeah, it was an amazing moment. And I think my celebration, I just kind of turned around and like embraced the crowd because it was so amazing to just know that all those Irish people in Perth, over the other side of Australia, back home in Ireland, they would have been up early to watch that game. We were able to give them that moment to celebrate our first goal in a major tournament. So unfortunately, we didn't win the game. I would have liked to win the game, but look, it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, what an amazing moment. Those are like two such great stories. Like literally when you host a podcast, you hope to get stories like that out of your guest. So like literally, I'm so happy that we got to hear about those. With all these good memories in mind, as we speak, Ireland will be preparing for a run of games that could lead you to qualify for the 2027 Women's World Cup. You guys are going to be playing France, Poland, and the Netherlands. And some of these games are actually going to be played right in Tallaght Stadium where you grew up. So I'm curious if your family's coming.
Some of them will. Yeah, some of them will. It's hard. They've all got kids now and lives, so it's hard to get them over for all the games. They'll be at the home games for sure. But yeah, look, those games are so tough. There's no denying it's going to be a difficult route to get to the World Cup. But we've got a taste of it. We've got a taste of tournament football, and that's something we never had before. So it kind of gives you that extra edge and that extra drive, especially in those games, competing against the best. And for us, like if we want to be at those tournaments, you're going to be competing against these big teams at times. And yeah, we have to be so disciplined in our approach and so respectful to the great teams France, Netherlands and Poland are. That's going to be a very, very tough test, but one that we won't shy away from. We know what it's going to take, and for sure we'll be ready to give everything as always.
Well, I'm so excited to see it. I'm going to be hoping for another like magical qualification moment for you guys. This is my last question for you, Katie. I know that Ireland's men's team are also hoping to qualify for the World Cup this summer. And I'm just wondering, like hearing you talk about your Irish fans in Australia, like what do you think? Why are World Cups better when Ireland is there?
Because we're everywhere. Like imagine the party in Boston if Ireland men get to the World Cup in the USA this year. I said to Christy as well, I was like, I need to come visit Boston. Like I've heard such amazing things about it. I need to get to that place in the world. I've heard it's absolutely incredible.
You'd love it. Yeah,
so
I know.
I said if Christy's going home and Sam's going over, I'm coming over for a visit. Book me the room.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Well, I completely agree. I do think that Irish people are so much fun. And I'm hoping that we, see some Irish people out celebrating with their men's team this summer at the World Cup. And I'm wishing you guys luck. Good luck with everything. World Cup qualification, Arsenal, and whatever you do next, Katie. This was so much fun. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Sam. Thanks for having me.
Thank you all so much for listening. I definitely cornered a few people at Christy and Sam's wedding in Australia. Katie was one of them. And so I hope that more guests from that day keep trickling onto Friendlies. Katie was so fun to talk to, and I'm really excited to see how her and Ireland do during their qualifying campaign. Before we let you go, we've got our linked up voicemail of the week presented by Verizon. Each week, we want to hear from you, so you can call anytime and leave us a voicemail at 855-611-4050, and you could be featured on a future episode of Friendlies. Here's our caller this week.
Hi, Sam. My name is Molly, and I'm calling in from Orlando. I actually have a question about injury protocol. What happens to a player who requires serious medical attention, like going to the hospital or something? So say like if you break your leg in a game across the country that requires you to stay overnight and you can't travel home with the team, how do you get back home? Does someone from the training staff stay with you? I assume they would want to get you back home as soon as possible. If you're in a cast and stuff, do you get to fly like on a private jet or something? Love the show. Thanks so much.
Hey, Molly. Thank you so much for calling, and thanks for the question. I think like if you're going to the hospital for something really serious, yeah, you'd probably miss the team flight home. I do think when possible, the team and the club would probably try to get you back into market so that the team's own doctors and medical staff could kind of properly weigh in on what medical care you need and then have you kind of comfortably staying at home when that's possible. But I think if it's a true emergency, you'd probably be staying in the city you're in until you're stable enough to travel. I definitely think a medical staff member would stay with you. I don't think they would ever leave you there alone. And then maybe the team would even fly in one of your family members to kind of help you out on a personal level. I haven't heard much about private jets in the NWSL for stuff like this, but honestly, who knows? Obviously, this is not an ideal situation, and it's one that I hope nobody has to deal with, but it's something athletes have to consider when they're putting their bodies on the line every week. Molly, thank you so much for your question. Thank you so much for calling. That was our linked up voicemail of the week presented by Verizon. So if you want to join us for this segment next time, the banana phone is open. Give me a call, 855-611-4050. Just leave a message, ask a question, and you could be our next featured listener thanks to our friends at Verizon. Next week's guest on this show is U.S. Women's National Team and Portland Thorns attacker Olivia Moultrie. We chatted with her ahead of She Believes, and I learned so much about her. I feel like she's someone who feels like a veteran, but she still has so much room to grow as a player. She's so young, and I feel like it's so exciting to watch a young player like this really take advantage of her opportunities with the U.S. Women's National Team. So make sure to tune in next week for that interview amidst all of our She Believes coverage. We will see you all again on Sunday after the U.S. Women's National Team's first game of She Believes against Argentina. Thank you all so much for listening.